everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Taxpayer'S Show. And before we go any further, swig a beer for the working man, women, and tout le monde. Well, not sure how this one's going to go. I'm going to hopefully hope for the best with the audio is better than the first show. I've been meaning to get on here for almost a week, trying to discuss PIERRE's speech that he made there in Toronto at whatever the rich people get together was. I guess the business show or whatever the hell it was. I don't know. I'm not even prepared. I have nothing written down. I'm just winging it. Anyways, so he gave a good speech, and a lot of people were giving him credit for it, and a lot of people, even on the right side or the left side. What side am I on? I don't even know. What day is it? I don't know. So even people on CTV were giving him credit for, oh, it's a great speech. It's what he should be saying all along. Was like, have you not been listening to this man for the last couple of years, especially the last year? Everything that he has said about Donald Trump and trade and everything, it's like, where were you? Anyways, just out to lunch. I'm still trying to get used to all these buttons and things here. Oh, I might have to start this show all over again. Where in the hell is it? Okay, so now I've brought it up here. So this was at the Economic Club of Canada. This was in Toronto. I don't know who these people are, but I guess they're more important than me. And I've watched, now I've watched the whole speech. I saw clips, and then I've watched the whole speech. And it was really a grown-up speech. It was much more grown-up than what half the country is saying about Trump in the U.S. I don't understand. Like, okay, I get it. Trump is a maniac, and by the way, Canada's not for sale. I get it. I'm not a Trump fan. I agree with some things that the man is doing. Not exactly agreeing with the way he's doing it, but anyways, we all know what Trump is all about. It goes without saying. Can't control what he's going to do. All we can do is control what we do as our own nation. And we have resources here that have been locked in, cut off, shut down. We had pipelines that were ready to go, ready to ship to other countries 10 years ago that were just cut off, buried, turned off, said, no, we're not doing it. And this is what's caused the hardship in this country, is we could have been rich as a country for the last decade instead of poor, instead of all these millions of people being at the food banks and people losing their houses and stuff. Like, it all goes hand in hand. And unlock these resources, make ourselves self-sufficient. And no matter what Trump does to us, we can't blame every single American about it. You know, like Joe Blow down in the States, my uncle, I have family there, I have friends there. They're not waking up every day to say how they can screw us over up here in Canada. Well, they came from Canada, and they're living down there. That's not what they're all about. And if tariffs put on our industry could cripple our industry that badly, then perhaps our industry wasn't that solid to begin with. N'est-ce pas? You know, if we can't endure some extra tariffs being put on us, then, you know, it wasn't that strong to begin with. And it wasn't. Our auto sector was down. It's just, look, I'm not an expert in all this, but you can't try to bring in mandates for electric vehicles and try to force a country to switch over to that and expect Ford, GM, Stellantis, all this stuff to thrive. Businesses do not want to invest in Canada when the taxes, capital gains. Why make a profit in Canada when you got to pay capital gains on it? They don't want to reinvest. It's a joke to invest in Canada. It's a joke to be in Canada. That's why all these companies are going to the States. That's why our Prime Minister's company went to the States. It's a freaking joke. Why is it so hard for at least half the country to understand that we have all of the resources right here that the world wants, the world needs? You know, Carney's been going around for a year trying to secure deals. We already have these deals, these MOUs. These are memorandums of understanding. These are not memorandums of agreement. These are not agreements. There's a big difference. Understanding, well, we might do this. We don't need to diversify any more than we already have. We have diversification with these countries already. India has already told us before Carney went over there. He sent, what's that, LeBlanc? Is it LeBlanc that went over there like 2 weeks prior? He come back, he went on CTV, he went on the CBC saying, India will take every ounce of oil we can give them because they have agreed to cut off Russia as a oil supply. We can't give them enough. We can't give it to them quick enough. We need to be able to get as many pipelines built as soon as possible, and we can give it to the world. And that will give us one more pipeline to the BC coast. Can give us $30 billion a year towards the GDP. That's a lot of money. Why not redo the Keystone pipeline to the U.S.? We have what the world wants. We have what the world needs. We have all the minerals. Just unleash what potential our country has. Why are we waiting? What are we waiting for? It makes no sense to me. Our people are living in the streets. Our people are going hungry. And it doesn't have to be. It really doesn't. We should be one of the richest nations on the planet. I don't even understand how, like, older liberal voters think. Like, because Carney's going to come after your investments. He's already talked about coming after what you own in your homes. Like, don't you want to keep that? Don't you want to give that to your children, your grandchildren? there will be no such thing as generational wealth. I just don't understand why. What's wrong with being wealthy? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with being able to afford the things that you want to get? What's wrong with being able to buy your children the necessities of life? Just the bare basics. I'm not talking about going out for dinner all the time. I'm just talking about good food. Good food, not macaroni and cheese, which is all right. I like it. I can deal with it. But the price on real good food, fruits and vegetables, is through the roof. We're all feeling the pinch. Why? It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Anyways, all that being said, I'm going to play a clip or two from POILIEVRE'S speech from last week. If I can make it work. Make it work. Make it work. Why don't I have a play button?
The thing when you read the British North American Act is this. There are no grand ideals. There are not big abstractions like you find in so many constitutional texts around the world. It's actually an instruction manual. It sets out responsibilities. It's a who does what document. It basically says you do this and you do that and together we'll get it done. And that's how they got it done. They cleared the way for a railway. They opened the prairie fields to feed the nation. They built canals and opened a nation to free commerce, something that was laid out in our original constitutional text, even if it's not respected to this day. Now that history of practical getting things done is more relevant now than ever. Conservatives are the party of Sir John A. Macdonald, the party of Confederation, the party of Canada. Macdonald and the founders did not build this country by reacting emotionally to every external disturbance. They did not define Canada by grievance or anxiety. They defined it by strengthening what lay within their control. Building, doing, and completing. We drove steel railway across the Rockies in 4.5 years. Later, we carved the St. Lawrence Seaway, and we did that in 5 years. We built the CN Tower, then the tallest freestanding structure in the world, in 3 years in the 1970s. That is how we built an unbreakable country. That spirit is again necessary as we move towards the CUSMA review starting this summer.
Amen, bro.
Now let's be clear with who we're dealing with. Pierre Elliott Trudeau, if my conservative friends will forgive me for quoting him, said living next to the United States is like sleeping next to an elephant. No matter how friendly and even-tempered the beast, one is affected by every twitch and grunt. Now, the last few years, there's been a lot of movement from the beast next door. A lot of movement, maybe a little bit more than usual. And there will be more to come. So what do? Well, as conservatives, we like to look back in order to see forward. How do we get here? For more than 3/4 of a century after the Second World War, we lived probably in the most secure geopolitical environment the world has ever seen, right next door to the United States, which became the biggest economy and military in the history of our planet. The United States was not just a neighbor, it was the gravitational center of the global economic system. For Canada, this reality produced a deep sense of security. For the most part, that arrangement served Canada and the US extraordinarily well. The result was massive buildups of north-south infrastructure, roads, bridges, railways, pipelines, transmission lines. Our two countries built the St. Lawrence Seaway, which became an H2O highway from Duluth and Thunder Bay all the way to Europe. We built a free trade system and seamlessly integrated our economy. We enjoyed the longest undefended border the the world has ever seen. We sided with each other in major conflicts, although our relationship was punctuated by the occasional squabble. Supply chains totally integrated. Investment accelerated, living standards rose, but a long period of risk-free living presents a new risk of its own: complacency. And let's be honest, we and they became complacent. We underinvested in our military. Bureaucracies grew and blocked in our resources. Politicians indulged in performative ideological grandstanding because they thought that they could afford to. We made ourselves unnecessarily dependent. At the same time, the global landscape was changing, and an overly complacent America was missing what was happening. China's economic expansion was one of the most extraordinary phenomena in the history of the world. This country went from having 80% of its citizens living on less than $1 a day to the second biggest economy in the world in one generation. While American capitalism had earlier buried clunky Soviet communism, a new authoritarian powerhouse quietly and rapidly snuck up on the US. All the economic enrichment came without the expected political liberalization. And one day, America awoke and realized that its entire industrial base had been hollowed out. Whole towns vanished to job outsourcing, and their economy was reliant on a country that was at best a serious rival and at worst a hostile threat. There was a backlash. Americans went from driving globalization to believing that they were its victim. Zero-sum mercantilism came roaring back to life. President Trump has sought to overturn the trading system that previous American presidents had championed and even created. Now, some of this correction, in fairness, was overdue, but it missed the target by going after countries like Canada, which were not the problem. What President Trump says about Canada is wrong. Our trade surplus does not represent exploitation by Canada of the United States of America. Quite the opposite, in fact. It is the result of us selling very good and very well-priced, in fact, below-market-priced raw materials, which America then upgrades and turns into massive profits for its economy. Ironically, U.S. workers gain six-figure salaries, turning our raw meat material into profit to their country, and they owe a big debt of gratitude to politicians and bureaucrats in Canada who have blocked us from building the necessary infrastructure to take those resources to world markets. He's also wrong to ignore the sacrifices Canada has made for the United States. Canadians fought and died along Americans in Afghanistan. And let's be clear, we did that exclusively in response to an attack on our American neighbors. We also fought and bled along America, not just in the trenches of Western Europe, but in Alaska's Aleutian Islands, defending American territory in the Second World War. And of course, we joined rapidly to fight communism in Korea, and in countless other ways, our cooperation, whether it's NORAD or our efforts to secure the Arctic, have been beneficial to both countries. And let's be clear about another thing. The President's talk of 51st statehood, whether it is a joke or not, is unacceptable. It goes without saying, there is zero chance of Canada ever being a part of the United States. We love our country. We love our country just as Americans, understandably and justifiably, love their country too. And that's why so many Canadians are upset by the President's comments and trade actions, especially considering that Canada and the United States will always be neighbors. Geography is the most permanent factor in international relations. No country can call up a realtor and relocate. And the truth is, we wouldn't want to. Canada and the United States have built probably the greatest partnership any two countries have ever built in the history of the world. That partnership remains profoundly in the interests of both our peoples and both our countries. And it's important to distinguish between governments and people. Politicians come and go. People remain. The miner in Appalachia, the energy worker in Texas, the engineer in California, they do not wake up every day asking how they can stick it to the Canadians. That's just the reality.
Amen.
The American people are not our adversaries. In fact, survey results demonstrate that Americans overwhelmingly have a favorable view of Canada and consider our two nations to be friends. That goodwill, by the way, may be our most important strategic strength going into these talks. As President Kennedy said when he was addressing the Canadian Parliament, geography has made us neighbors. History has made us friends. Economics has made us partners. Necessity has made us allies. Those whom nature hath so joined together, let no man put asunder.
Now, does that not sound like a grown-up to you? A grown-up approach to how to handle the situation between people that they're my family down there. They're my friends down there. They're people I grew up and played with. They're my cousins. They're my aunts and uncles. I don't know. I do have more, but I'm going to keep this episode a bit shorter. I'll probably do a part 2 to this. And hey, I only have one fan anyways. Thank you, Christine, for being my only subscriber and big fan. We're going to end this episode with some funnies. I'll take a quick break. And I'm gonna grab a beer and maybe change the fire. Let's have a different fire for joke time. Can't be all serious, right? Can't be all serious. All right. This is the perfect way to end this redneck show. Just me and a buddy sitting at Buddy's backyard. Joe Blow. Joe Blow. Oh, hell, I can't find my lighter. Oh, Christ. Crime in Italy. What did I do with it? Just had it here. Enjoy the fire, folks, while I look for my lighter. The boring part of the show. Here. Oh, and I pause that for a second. Holy moly, Chief. A little less weed. I had the lighter in my hand the whole frickin' time. Well, found out that I don't have bad arthritis in my shoulder and arm and tricep, bicep. I got damaged rotator cuff and it's all inflamed. So, having some pain relief tonight, having some CBD puff. Maybe get a little bit happy. Oh my gosh. This is my pain and complaining time. I'm up 5 to 7 times, sometimes 8 times a night, complaining about all the pain. I'll wake up screaming in pain. Oh well. There's worse things, eh? Oh yeah, I've actually sat in chairs like that and had worse fires than that. That works, man. Just sitting there, smoking a cigarette, smoking some whatevers, and having some beers. Look at the picnic tables in the back. And that back shed looks like it needs a paint job. Yeah. I feel more at home there than anywhere else. Swig of beer for the working people. Is that fire on pause? I'm not sure if I did a picture there or not. Let's take a look. Oh, it does go. Okay. There we go. Here we go, folks. We're sitting there by the fire after all the political talk, all the bullshit. How we saved the world with all of our own ideas. Light a smoke. Now it's time for some of the funnies. Let's see here. Let me get this straight. I have one fan of this show, and she likes the funnies. So here we go. I can't read this and the screen at the same time with these glasses. Are you ready, folks? Strap in. Hold on, wrong mouse. I got two computers going, so it's rough. All right. Joke number one. While most puns make me feel numb, math puns make me feel number. Mr. Roper time. Moving on. Let's see here. This just in. I just realized that the word 7 has even in it. That's odd. Yep. What's this one? Oh, this is bad. This is real bad. Are you with me, folks? Hold on. You're sitting at my bar. This is exactly what would happen if you're sitting at my bar or at this double chair there. Here we go. For a fungi to grow, you must give it as much. Oh, I blew that. Okay. I blew it. Okay. Hold on. We're going to pretend you didn't hear that. For a fungi to grow, you must give it as mushroom as possible. Get it, Mr. Roper? Look at the camera. Rough night. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, this one's not the greatest, but I'll say it. That's not so bad. It's my wife. I can't read. It's my wife's birthday next week, and she's been leaving jewelry catalogs all over the house. So I got her a magazine rack. Anyway, well, I guess that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you like any of this, subscribe down below. I think you do that. Like and share and all that jazz, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you. You're a beautiful audience, and really, you're too kind, and you deserve to give yourselves a round of applause. So, really, for you. Thank you.